Industry and government officials have expressed concern about the use of artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT. The White House is now reportedly examining the risks associated with the use of AI. This comes as China unveils draft measures for managing generative artificial intelligence services as well. Those rules follow a slew of Chinese AI chatbot launches from Baidu, SenseTime, and most recently Alibaba. Here to break down all of these developments in the AI landscape is Yahoo Finance's Allie Garfinkle. Good morning, Allie.
Good morning, Julie. So as the AI hype cycle has really picked up, so have concerns about the technology. And those concerns, right, you said it, they've gone straight to the top. In China, for instance, the Cyberspace Administration of China, the CAC, has drafted a series of rules for how AI should be managed and regulated. And those rules include things like users must submit their real identities, for example, or companies are responsible for the data that is training their products. Another one is that the content shouldn't subvert state power, right? These rules are obviously something that, a company that's trying to get its AI product off the ground probably isn't so excited about. But the stakes for complying are relatively high, right? These companies can receive fines or even facing criminal investigations if they violate these rules. And these rules aren't a pie in the sky future thing. They could take effect as soon as this year. Now, as these regulations take shape, right, of course, there's this world of companies that are involved in China, right? You have SenseTime, Baidu, and now Alibaba. And the same is true in the US, right? You have a world of companies that are also getting involved in AI, from Google to Meta. I almost said Facebook, but I didn't. And for those companies, but of course Microsoft, and for those companies, they also are facing some similar concerns, right? The Commerce Department, for instance, today put out a formal request on what accountability measures for AI could entail. That, of course, could include a certification process for products before they hit the market. President Biden last week even discussed AI with a council of advisors, and when he was asked about whether or not AI was dangerous, he was non-committal. So these are early days, right? Regulation still has a very long way to go, but the first steps absolutely have been taken. And I can't help but think of this in the context of other tech I cover, for instance, VR and the metaverse. And the reality is no one is talking about regulating the metaverse, but they are talking about regulating AI. And I think in the end, that's symptomatic of how far AI has already come in the public's dreams and nightmares.
Well, yeah, artificial intelligence has been real for quite some time, too. I mean, it's embedded within products that some corporations already use, especially on the cybersecurity front. And so now generative AI as a subset within artificial intelligence getting a lot of focus. There is a question, though, for companies that do have clients that are global at the end of the day that buy into some of their solutions. What does that mean if they, operate in China or vice versa, operate in the US, but are trying to sell a product or solution that uses generative AI into another region in the world? Is there any discussion around that right now?
There's certainly discussion, but there is absolutely no clarity, Brad. And yes, of course, AI has been around for a long time, but I think the stakes have just gotten so much higher. I think with generative AI, even though it is not the only AI out there, it has raised public awareness of what is possible, both for good and for ill. And yes, I think you're right. A lot of companies, for instance, if you're Microsoft, you're going to want everyone to be able to use the new Bing, for example. But I think those processes will get more complicated. I think we just don't know what that will look like. And I think for companies operating internationally, there could be an incredible spider web of regulations they might have to go through in the end. That said, we are still far away from that moment.
And speaking of the spider web of regulations, there are going to be some probably new in China as well. We just got some new proposals today. And Alibaba has also been introducing some new chatbot functionality.
Yeah, it has. And it's the sort of thing that we are seeing across the board for a lot of companies. I personally wasn't surprised when Alibaba got involved, especially when you saw the popularity of Baidu's efforts, for example, or you saw the popularity of, ChatGPT and how Microsoft was lauded for getting involved. So yeah, Alibaba is absolutely in the mix, but it's important to remember Alibaba is in a lot of ways more like Amazon than it is like Google or Microsoft. So it'll be really interesting to see the commerce applications of how ErnieBot really plays out. And I think it's one of the key problems in e-commerce is conversion. And one thing I've been hearing a lot about, Julie, is the idea that these very sophisticated conversational AI bots can help with customer conversion so that these e-commerce giants aren't leaving money on the table. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. I had a source tell me the other day, this is all moving so fast that no one person or company could ever keep up. I honestly think in this tech earnings cycle, we're going to still see a lot more talk about AI than we've already seen even before.
All right. Well, there's Ernie, there's Bard out there. There was Sydney. I don't know if Sydney is still the thing for Microsoft Bing. Did they change that
Sydney
yet?
was the alter ego.
That was the alter ego? Okay.
Sydney was the alter ego.
I don't know that they meant to have Sydney.
Sydney wasn't supposed to be.
Yes, there's Bloomberg GPT. Never forget Bloomberg GPT.
Oh.
Always forget Bloomberg. No, I'm just kidding.
Yahoo Finance is Allie, we're going to leave things there before they get a little testy here. Allie Garfinkle, thanks so much for joining us and breaking this down.